Okay, so we're going to be talking about our thesis. We have sex and silent ADL. You know us. So I'm just going to go through everything really fast. So we changed our PICO question from the beginning. So women with spinal cord injuries, education regarding the active or appropriate patient education, patient satisfaction compared to current practices. Basically, we just want to see if women are getting proper education regarding their spinal cord injury. Yes, yep. Okay. So background introduction. There's a lack of knowledge and discomfort when discussing their sexuality among healthcare professionals. The majority of spinal cord injuries occur in men, so there was a lack of research regarding the women. And women with spinal cord injury are dissatisfied with the amount and quality of information regarding their sex life. So the statement of the problem, there's less consideration in literature. Current sexual education has been insufficient. And there are differences that are not considered when developing a sex education program. And our statement of purpose. We discussed before that we are taking the best evidence statement approach, and our goal was to formulate a fact sheet to submit to AOTA.
Theoretical framework, psychodynamic theory, because when you think about sexuality, it's a lot broader than just the act of having sex. And we think taking together thoughts, beliefs, experiences is going to be far more important in terms of viewing it holistically. And creating the best to, I guess, describe what it is we had to do. Take in and read a bunch of research articles and systematic reviews and try to synthesize the findings and outcomes and discussions that they were putting together and draw out the common and repetitive themes that were coming up, and the different recommendations is what we tried to compile into our fact sheet. The biggest themes, I guess, if you're going to really just summarize it into our summary of evidence that we found, is that our psychological factors contribute way more than just the physical factors when it comes to sexuality. In current sexual rehab, it's lacking consideration of race, sexual preferences, and ethnicity. And recommendations that we found is that women would like that you take into account their relationship status. Being single or having a married partner is way different. Trying to find someone who's even interested to have sex with you if you're single, as opposed to having your husband or
established relationship.
Already having a trusted relationship. So we're going to go through our recommendations. First of which is the key to sexual rehab is self-image, self-esteem, and self-worth. So the first one. Second is that women are provided information pertaining to safety. So this could be making sure it's lubricated or well lubricated, because that causes friction, positioning, depth of penetration, and a lot of things to consider, and they may not be addressed in the current talking of sexual rehab, mainly because it's focused on men. And third, we have that women explore their bodies and their newfound sexuality, because essentially it is a brand new body that they're in. The way it functions, the way you have to take care of yourself, and you may, you lost sensation, so you may have new points of arousal areas. And so exploring your body and exploring your newfound sexuality is key to developing yourself in the future.
Continuing on with recommendations, it is recommended that women with spinal cord injuries seek peer counseling opportunities. It's also recommended that occupational therapists use a direct, open style of communication. And it's recommended that a patient's partner, upon patient request. Time is just right. Time is just right.
We're just making sure you guys are paying attention.
Continuing on with our recommendations, it's recommended that individuals engage in counseling with their relationship, healthcare professionals, as well as their own professional attitudes. So this is a recommendation regarding the occupational therapists addressing their attitudes before addressing the attitudes of the individual. And it is recommended that women participate in ADL training, again, part of that safety, getting to know your body. This particular recommendation has to do with the way that occupational therapists explore the learning style. So we are talking about different media approaches. We're also talking about in-hand pamphlets, booklets, things like that, and then also a different variety of discussion formats. So group discussion, one-on-one, things of that nature. Limitations are, is this fact sheet going to be used? Making sure it's available to the public, and making sure that we use new in-date articles and also potentially revisiting these articles or new articles, research that comes to light.
Okay, so ethical and legal considerations. We didn't need an informed consent, it wasn't necessary, we didn't do any surveys, we kind of detract from that, from what we previously thought we were going to do, and also just making sure any fact sheet that we do formulate is included inclusivity and cultural competence. Health benefits, side effects, and risks. One of the barriers that we found to sexuality was that a spinal cord injury is linked to age-related barriers. Also, we found that women with spinal cord injury are often more dependent on their partner, so this changes the dynamic between the relationship, and that offset and balance of power relationship can be detrimental to sexual adjustments. Some applicability issues that we found when possibly trying to implement this fact sheet. There'll be moderate costs involved in terms of print costs for the fact sheet, also incorporating a multimedia approach in terms of different pamphlets, videos, things of that nature. And primarily the cost would be just an extra time, adjusting schedules, discussing specific issues with patients. There also might be some initial resistance from physicians, kind of stuck in their own ways, not really valuing sexual occupations as a means of treatment. And dissemination. So at this point in time, we've reached out to all of these avenues for possible publication. The front runner that we wanted to do initially was the AOTA fact sheet. However,
It's not.
so on the website, we were looking for the specific format of the fact sheet that they would like. It was not on there, so she personally made a phone call to the representative, and they weren't very helpful or nice about it.
Tell us what they said.
Well,
So
he spoke.
that-
It wasn't very
They
positive.
said that,
And we would have to use our advisor, so
but
moving
we would
forward.
have to call
Oh.
using our
She didn't want to
advisor.
speak to us.
She didn't want to speak to students.
Even though we were trying to tell her that we're just trying to get information to relay back to
Did
her.
you tell her you were a member?
Yes, and I also asked, just to differ from that, are there, what are your requirements for creating the fact sheet? What's the font? What's this? Size 12. So she was very catty. But good news is we have received some positive feedback. Chasen, you can go ahead and tell them.
It was really quick. OTAC was very anxious to have us. They said, they sent us two examples of how we can format our work into meeting their standards. If we sent them our work, they would alter it for us to fit their standards. They just.
And then I contacted OT Advance, and they were also very interested in being able to show.
As in terms of an article?
In terms of
In
an
advance?
article or a fact sheet, just depending on what we were wanting to have. So right now, it's just more or less the conflict of once you publish in one genre, you can't duplicate it.
So
So we're
decisions.
We're actually even considering possibly doing our best in one, potentially, and then doing the fact sheet in another, because you can publish them separately, just not together.
Yeah, we did two versions of the best. We did the best including the fact sheet, and then the best just the best.
Including valuable recommendations.
Doctor.
Questions?
Question, is the fact sheet developed, or is this what you're looking for, guidelines on how to
That's
develop?
where we had an issue, was we're trying to make the fact sheet for AOTA, so we were trying to, do you have a template? What do you guys want from us? And they weren't willing to give us any feedback. So that's why we created the best with those recommendations, in case we have to go another route of publication.
But at this time, the recommendations would be the information that would be featured as the fact sheet.
Okay.
So depending on where you publish it, they have different standards for what they want as their fact sheet.
And you might have said this already, but how did you come up with the recommendations?
We did literature reviews and found common themes that were going through each one, and so that's what we used as far as like, what is it that women are wanting, what is it they're not talking about or not asking about, and then those common themes are what we used to create recommendations.
Very nice.
Keep fighting the good fight.
Yeah.